Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going deep on emotional intelligence.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're going way beyond the basics, though. Like practical strategies and stuff.
I like it.
We've got all these notes and a really fascinating transcript, and
Okay.
I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of it.
Awesome. I'm ready to dive in.
So, everyone's talking about emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
But this deep dive is about, how do you actually use it?
Right. Make it practical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, we're going to get into how childhood experiences can, impact financial success.
Interesting. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. And even how it can affect your future career choices.
Wow. That's a powerful connection.
I know, right? Plus, there's this really cool method we found called SICA.
SICA.
Yeah, and it's for classifying relationships to build stronger connections.
Okay, so it's about understanding different levels of connection.
Exactly. And you know how we tend to kind of lump all our relationships together?
Yeah, I guess I do.
Well, this method helps you see them more strategically.
Gotcha. So how does it work?
So SICA stands for connection, intimacy, confidence, and alliance.
Okay, 4 stages.
Each stage is like a deeper level of connection.
So how much you trust someone or share with them.
Exactly. It's about observation and intuition, too. Thinking about, do you feel comfortable being vulnerable with them?
Right. That makes sense.
It's almost like you're promoting people to deeper levels, but it has to be mutual.
Got it. So you can't force it. It has to develop naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the source material suggested mapping out 10 close relationships using SICA.
That's a good exercise. I bet it can be really eye-opening.
For sure. It can show you where you might need to nurture some connections or maybe be more discerning about who you let into those deeper levels.
That's a good point. We often don't pay enough attention to that.
So true. And speaking of growth, the source material also talks about this idea of detachment.
Detachment. Isn't that kind of like a negative thing?
Well, a lot of people think that. But it's not about becoming cold or unfeeling.
Oh, okay.
It's about freeing yourself from emotional baggage,
Baggage that's holding us back.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about letting go of the things that weigh you down.
So anxieties, perfectionism, cultural norms, things like that.
You got it. And it reminded me of that story from the source material about letting go of possessions and some relationships, too.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like a total decluttering of his life, inside and out.
Right. He was making space for new things to come in. And that leads me to this other idea the source talked about, diverse experiences.
I'm listening.
Well, he was saying how successful people often have super diverse backgrounds in schooling,
Like they've been exposed to lots of different things.
Yeah. And it forces them to adapt and reframe their thinking all the time.
That makes sense. It builds flexibility.
Totally. And it rewires their brains so they're more open to new solutions and opportunities.
So it's not just what you know, it's how you think.
I know. It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
And that adaptability, well, that's basically the second pillar of emotional intelligence, which is reframing.
Reframing, okay? I'm ready to hear more.
It's about choosing how you look at things. It's about seeing challenges in a new light.
Like looking through different lenses.
Exactly. The more experiences you have, the more mental models you develop.
So you have more options when facing a problem.
Right. And it can help you turn problems into, opportunities.
That's powerful.
There was an awesome example of the source material about public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of feeling fear, the speaker reframed it as excitement.
Interesting. And it worked.
Apparently. He said it helped him perform better.
That's amazing. It's like changing the story you're telling yourself.
Exactly. So we've got detachment, letting go, reframing, choosing how we see things. What do you think comes next?
I'm not sure. What's the third pillar?
It's governance. It's probably the most complex one.
Governance.
It's about, being responsible for your inner world. Your emotions and reactions and choices.
Okay, so taking ownership.
Yes. The source material was big on personal responsibility, setting boundaries, and having a no-nonsense approach to managing emotions.
So not letting your emotions control you.
Right. It's about recognizing that you can choose how to respond.
No matter what's happening around you.
Yeah. And remember that story about how the speaker transformed his life? Going from needing approval to being self-reliant and decisive.
Yeah, he really embodied that idea of governance.
He did. And that's what we should all strive for, right? It's about being discerning with your relationships and who you allow to influence you.
Because not everyone has your best interests at heart.
Exactly. So we've got these 3 powerful pillars: detachment, reframing, and governance.
So how do they all fit together in the bigger picture of emotional intelligence?
That's the exciting part. When you understand them, you can apply them to all areas of your life.
Like,
Well, they can help you deal with challenges, spot opportunities, and even predict future trends.
hold on, predict future trends. How is that even possible?
It's about understanding what drives people, their emotions. Once you see the patterns, you can kind of predict how they'll react to things.
Wow. That's wild.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it all starts with understanding these core principles of emotional intelligence.
It's like having a superpower.
Right. So let's recap. We've got detachment, reframing, and governance. And of course, there's that SICA method for understanding our relationships.
It's a lot to take in, but it's so fascinating.
Totally agree. And before we go any further, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
So if you applied that SICA method to your professional network,
Mm-hmm.
what would you change?
What a great question.
Like, who would you connect with more? Who might be holding you back? And who could you learn from?
It really makes you think.
It does. It's all about maximizing your potential.
Right. Absolutely. This deep dive is really making me see emotional intelligence in a whole new light.
Me too. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore.
I can't wait to see where we go next.
So stay tuned, because after a quick break, we'll be diving even deeper into the fascinating world of emotional intelligence.
So, as we're talking about all these principles, I keep thinking about this idea of an emotional shield from the source material.
Oh yeah, that was a fascinating idea. Like,
Yeah.
our emotions can create a force field.
Pretty much like attracting or repelling certain experiences.
It sounds almost like, a superpower.
Yeah. And it comes back to governance.
Okay.
Like, the stronger our inner world, the more resilient that shield becomes.
So it's not just about blocking negativity, right? It's about cultivating a positive environment.
Exactly. Aligning your inner world with, your goals and values. And it kind of connects to another point from the source material.
Which one?
The connection between physical clutter and emotional clutter.
Ooh, that's interesting. It's making me think about my closet.
Well, the source had this story, right? About a client who was struggling financially and emotionally.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Her apartment was a mess, full of stuff she didn't need.
Okay.
And as she started decluttering, she also felt lighter emotionally, like she could handle her finances better.
Really? Just from decluttering?
Apparently, it's
Yeah.
like clearing the physical clutter opened up space mentally and emotionally.
That makes sense.
Right. When you're surrounded by clutter, it can be overwhelming.
I can definitely relate to that.
But letting go of that stuff can be so freeing.
Yeah.
Speaking of letting go, the source also talked about limiting beliefs.
Oh, yeah, those sneaky little things. They really can hold you back, huh?
They can, and we often don't even realize we have them. It's like they're running the show in the background.
So true.
And they can show up in a bunch of ways, like self-sabotaging behaviors or attracting the wrong people into your life.
Yeah, like you're setting yourself up to fail without even knowing it.
Exactly. One example from the source was people who think they're not worthy of success.
Oof. That's a tough one.
It is. But the source material suggests, actively challenging those beliefs with evidence.
Evidence. So, like, proving yourself wrong.
Exactly. He even used this term certificate of facts.
Okay, so instead of just trying to, change your mindset,
Yeah.
you have to go out and create experiences that disprove the belief.
Yeah. You're replacing that old story with a new one based on actual proof.
It's like rewriting your own narrative.
Exactly. So to sum it all up, the emotional shield, decluttering, letting go of limiting beliefs, it's all about creating a more positive inner world, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing how it all fits together. It's all connected.
Right. And that allows you to really show up in life, to go after what you want and connect with people authentically.
It reminds me of what the source said about expanding your repertoire of experiences.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Remember, people who have lived in different places, had different jobs, they tend to be more successful.
I do. He said it's because they're always having to reframe their thinking and learn new skills.
Exactly. It's like they've trained their brains to see possibilities instead of limits.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's the kind of mindset we all need, especially in today's world.
So true. Things are changing so fast.
It's crazy. And it's clear that, everything's connected. Our well-being, our beliefs, our experiences, even our financial success.
It's like a giant web, right?
It is. And when all those elements are in sync,
I know what you're going to say.
it creates this awesome momentum that pushes you forward.
Exactly. And it all comes down to taking control of your inner world.
I agree. So we've covered the emotional shield, the connection between physical and emotional clutter, and those pesky limiting beliefs. We also touched on the importance of experiences.
A lot of great stuff.
But now, let's dive into those three pillars of emotional intelligence. Are you ready?
Absolutely. I'm ready to go deeper.
Okay, first up is detachment. So what does that really mean when we're talking about emotional intelligence?
Well, it's about letting go of those things that are causing you suffering,
Like what kinds of things?
It could be material possessions or outcomes or the need for approval or even just like people who drain your energy.
So it's not about like shutting down emotionally or pushing people away?
No, not at all. It's more about releasing the things that are weighing you down and preventing you from experiencing real joy.
Oh, okay. I get it.
The source had this great quote. I think you'll like it. Detachment is not about being cold. It's about being free.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. It's like you're choosing to be free from those attachments,
Exactly. And that freedom allows you to really be present in your life.
to be more authentic and pursue your goals with passion.
Yeah. It's about living from a place of choice instead of just reacting to everything. And that leads us nicely into the second pillar, reframing.
Reframing. We've talked about it a bit, but what's the deeper meaning here?
It's about consciously shifting your perspective, seeing things from different angles and finding new solutions. The source talked about building a rich repertoire of experiences.
Right. The more experiences we have, the more tools we have to work with.
Exactly. It's like having a whole toolbox full of different lenses.
I like that analogy.
And remember the example about the guy who hated math but realized that successful business people excel with numbers.
Oh, yeah. He totally reframed his thinking about math.
Right. He saw it as a valuable skill instead of just a boring subject.
And that opened up a whole new world for him.
Exactly. That's the power of reframing.
So how do we get better at reframing? Can we practice it?
Absolutely. The key is to stay curious and open to new experiences, and be willing to question your assumptions.
So instead of immediately reacting to a situation with fear or negativity, we can pause and ask, is there another way to look at this?
Yeah, just that simple shift in perspective can change everything.
Okay, so we've got detachment, the art of letting go, and reframing, the power of changing our perspective. And now for the grand finale, governance.
Governance, the big one.
What exactly is it?
It's about owning your life, your emotions, your reactions, your decisions. It's like being the CEO of your inner world.
I love that analogy, the CEO mindset. It's so empowering.
Right. You have the authority to make choices that align with your values. You set boundaries, delegate tasks.
You're in control.
Exactly. And one thing the source emphasized was that governance is not about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself.
Right. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your own responses.
And when you do that, you become so much more powerful.
I remember that line from the source. When you take ownership of your governance, you become unmessable with.
It's true. It's about building that unshakable inner foundation. But how do we actually become better at governance?
Yeah, how do we put it into practice?
The source talked about developing 3 key areas: skills, competencies, and unblocks.
Unblocks. I've never heard that term before.
They're basically any internal barriers that are preventing you from reaching your full potential.
So like limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, past traumas, even bad habits.
Yeah, things that are holding you back.
Okay, so we need to identify and remove those roadblocks. But what about skills and competencies? What's the difference?
Skills are the specific abilities we need, right? Like communication, problem solving, time management.
Got it.
Competencies are more of the underlying traits, like resilience, adaptability, creativity.
So skills are the tools and competencies are like the qualities that help you use those tools effectively.
Exactly. And the key to governance is to continuously develop all 3, your skills, competencies, and unblocks.
It's like we're constantly upgrading our operating systems.
I like that. We're becoming more efficient, more effective, and the more we master governance, the more we can create the lives we want.
This is so inspiring, but it also feels a little overwhelming. Where do we even start?
That's a great question. After all this discussion, it seems like the source's approach to emotional intelligence comes down to 3 basic principles.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these 3 principles.
The first principle is awareness. It's about really understanding yourself.
Yeah.
Your emotions, thoughts, beliefs, values, your strengths and weaknesses, and even your patterns of behavior.
So self-awareness is the foundation. It makes sense. Like Without it, you're just reacting to everything.
Yeah, you're on autopilot.
But when you're self-aware, you can actually choose how to respond.
Yeah.
You can break free from those patterns that aren't working for you anymore.
Right, you're not a slave to your habits.
Exactly. It's like, turning on the lights in your inner world.
Yeah.
And that awareness is crucial for the second principle. Ownership.
Ownership, okay.
What do you think of when you hear that word?
Taking responsibility.
You got it. Ownership is about taking radical responsibility for your life.
Not blaming other people for your problems.
Right. It's about recognizing that you create your own reality, that your thoughts, beliefs, and actions all shape your experiences.
So you're in the driver's seat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the architect of your own destiny. You let go of that victim mentality. No more blame games or excuses. And you start making choices that align with your values, setting boundaries that protect your well-being, and taking action that moves you towards your goals.
Powerful stuff.
It is. It's like reclaiming your power, your sovereignty over your own life. And that ownership is essential for the third principle. Mastery.
Mastery. I like the sound of that.
Me too. So what does mastery mean when we're talking about emotional intelligence?
Well, it's about, constantly developing your emotional intelligence. It's a journey, right? You're refining your skills and competencies, and those unblocks we talked about.
Okay.
You're becoming more adept at navigating those tricky human relationships, leading with integrity and compassion, and creating a life that's really aligned with your purpose.
So it's not about being perfect, right?
No, not at all.
It's about embracing that journey of growth and evolution.
Exactly. We're all works in progress, always learning and growing. And that journey, the journey of becoming more emotionally intelligent, that's what makes life so amazing.
This deep dive has been incredible.
Yeah.
We've explored the real meaning of emotional intelligence and how powerful it could be. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding now.
Me too. It's been eye-opening.
As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me with it.
What if emotional intelligence isn't just, a set of skills, but a way of being, a path to more freedom and fulfillment, a way to make a real impact in the world?
Wow, that's a powerful question. It really makes you think about the possibilities.
It does. And that's what we hope this deep dive has done for you, inspired you to explore the potential of emotional intelligence in your own life.
It's been a pleasure joining you on this journey.
Likewise. And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep evolving, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.